This situation in Memphis just took a serious turn, and now it's no longer just Blac Youngsta talking. Yo Gotti has officially fired back, and what he said is sending shockwaves through CMG and the entire city. What started as frustration has now turned into a full-blown loyalty war, with insiders questioning who's really solid and who's just playing a role. Sources close to the situation say this isn't about music anymore. This is about power, respect, and control inside CMG. Blac Youngsta didn't just vent. He opened doors that were never supposed to be touched, and Yo Gotti's response makes it clear he felt those lines were crossed. The silence is gone, the tension is real, and Memphis is watching every move. What makes this even crazier is how people inside the camp are reacting. Some are standing 10 toes down with Gotti, while others are quietly backing away, afraid of being caught on the wrong side of history. And when loyalty starts getting questioned in Memphis, things don't stay online for long. Is this the beginning of a CMG breakup? Did Blac Youngsta expose something he can't take back? Or is Yo Gotti sending a warning that this conversation ends now? Because if you think this is just rap beef, think again. This feels personal, calculated, and dangerous. And what happens next could permanently change Memphis hip-hop forever. Stay locked in, because this story is far from over. If you're still thinking this is just internet noise, you're already behind, because what's happening right now between Yo Gotti and Blac Youngsta is bigger than one argument, bigger than one interview, and definitely bigger than one tweet. This is about how power works in Memphis and what happens when loyalty gets questioned in public. After Blac Youngsta went off, the streets didn't hear an immediate response from Yo Gotti, and that silence? It spoke louder than anything. In Memphis, silence isn't a weakness. It's a calculation. People close to CMG say Gotti didn't rush to react because he was watching. Watching who spoke. Watching who stayed quiet. Watching who suddenly started moving differently. Then the response finally came, and it wasn't loud, emotional, or messy. It was cold, direct. And it felt like a message meant for more than just Blac Youngsta. Yo Gotti made it clear that nothing he built came from handouts, and anyone who felt used or unappreciated was free to do their own thing. No names were said, but everybody knew exactly who the message was for. And when Gotti talks like that, Memphis listens. Here's where things get interesting. Blac Youngsta wasn't just another artist under CMG. He was one of the loudest supporters, one of the most visible soldiers, always defending the brand, always riding hard for Gotti in public. So for him to suddenly flip the script and start airing frustrations, that hit was different. People inside the city started asking questions immediately. Was Blac Youngsta feeling sidelined? Did he expect more backing, more promo, more protection? Or did something happen behind closed doors that finally pushed him over the edge? According to insiders, this tension didn't start overnight. It had been building quietly, missed calls, delayed responses, business conversations that never turned into action. The kind of stuff that doesn't look serious until it piles up. And once it does, one emotional moment can turn into an explosion. That's exactly what we saw. But what made Yo Gotti's response feel so heavy is the timing. CMG is in a position of power right now. New artists, new money, new influence. And when an empire is growing, the last thing a boss wants is internal cracks showing to the public. Because once fans see division, outsiders start testing boundaries. Memphis bloggers jumped on it. Industry pages picked sides. Even artists not connected to CMG started subtweeting, hinting they weren't surprised. That's when it stopped being personal and started becoming political. Now let's be clear, Yo Gotti has always moved with structure. Loyalty to him isn't emotional, it's business discipline. You eat because the system works. And if you step outside that system publicly, you're seen as a risk. Blac Youngsta, on the other hand, has always been raw, emotional, unfiltered. That's what fans love about him, but that same honesty can become dangerous when it exposes internal issues. So when he spoke out, it didn't just reflect frustration. It challenged authority. And that's why Gotti's response wasn't aggressive, it was final. The tone said, "I'm not arguing with you. I'm reminding you who built this." Behind the scenes, CMG members were reportedly warned to stay quiet. No interviews. No sneak disses. No social media games. Because at that level, every word turns into a headline, and every headline fuels the fire. But silence doesn't stop speculation. Fans started revisiting old interviews, old lyrics, old moments where Blac Youngsta hinted at feeling overlooked. Suddenly, everything looked like a clue. And when the internet starts connecting dots, the narrative moves faster than the truth. The biggest question right now isn't whether Blac Youngsta and Yo Gotti can squash this, it's whether trust has already been broken. Because once loyalty becomes a public debate, going back to how things were becomes almost impossible. Memphis has seen this before. Artists fall out, camps split, and sometimes the city pays the price. That's why people are nervous. This isn't entertainment to them, it's history repeating itself. And here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. If Blac Youngsta really feels he gave everything and didn't get the respect he deserved, he's not backing down quietly. And if Yo Gotti feels challenged, he's not bending publicly. That creates a standoff, one where neither side wants to look weak. So where does this go next? Does Blac Youngsta double down and say more? Does Yo Gotti cut ties completely and move on? Or does someone behind the scenes step in before this turns irreversible? Because make no mistake, this isn't over. This is just the first chapter of a situation that could reshape CMG and shift power in Memphis hip-hop for good. We're breaking down what insiders are saying, how this affects other CMG artists, and why some people believe this fallout was inevitable from the start. Stay locked in, because the real story is only just beginning at this point. The conversation has moved far beyond Blac Youngsta and Yo Gotti as individuals. What's unfolding now is a test of CMG's foundation, and insiders say this moment has been quietly building for years. Behind closed doors, CMG was never just a label, it was a hierarchy. Everyone had a role, everyone knew who the final voice was, and for a long time, that structure worked. But as the roster grew and money started moving faster, expectations changed. Artists wanted more control, more visibility, and more acknowledgement for the groundwork they helped lay. Blac Youngsta was one of those artists. People close to the situation say Youngsta believed he was more than just an artist, he felt like part of the core. He was visible during CMG's toughest moments, loud during conflicts, and always ready to defend the brand publicly. To him, loyalty wasn't transactional. It was personal. Yo Gotti, however, has always viewed loyalty through a different lens. To Gotti, loyalty means discipline, silence, and execution. You don't question leadership in public, and you don't turn internal frustrations into external narratives. When those rules get broken, consequences follow even if emotions are involved. That clash in philosophy is where everything cracked. As the story spread, something unexpected started happening. Industry figures who normally avoid Memphis drama began weighing in, not directly, but subtly. A repost here. A cryptic caption there. The message was clear, people were watching closely. And when people watch, they start choosing sides. Some fans accused Yo Gotti of forgetting the people who helped him build CMG. Others said Blac Youngsta should have handled things privately instead of creating headlines. The comment sections turned into battlegrounds, and once that happens, the damage is already done. According to sources, CMG leadership quickly went into damage control mode. Meetings were held. Phone calls were made. The goal wasn't to pick sides, it was to prevent escalation. Because when disagreements stay internal, they can be fixed. When they become public, they become unpredictable. What made the situation even more tense was the silence from other CMG artists. No public support. No statements. No "we good" posts. That silence wasn't accidental. It was strategic. Silence keeps doors open. Statements close them. Meanwhile, Blac Youngsta's camp reportedly felt isolated. People who once checked in regularly went quiet. Business opportunities slowed. And whether intentional or not, that shift sent a clear message. Things had changed. This is the part where many artists make a mistake. They react emotionally instead of strategically. And insiders say everyone is watching to see which direction Youngsta goes next. Because once you speak out against a powerhouse like Yo Gotti, there are only two options: reconcile or separate completely. There's no middle ground. What complicates things even more is Memphis itself. This city has a long memory. People don't forget who stood with who, and they definitely don't forget public fallout. Every move now carries weight, not just for careers, but for relationships that extend far beyond music. Some insiders believe this situation was inevitable. They say Blac Youngsta's personality never fully fit within CMG's evolving structure. As the label became more corporate, more polished, Youngsta remained raw and unpredictable. That contrast only grew sharper over time. And when systems evolve faster than the people inside them, tension follows. Yo Gotti's response, or lack thereof since the initial message, suggests he's already thinking long-term. He's protecting the brand, the pipeline, and the future of CMG. From his perspective, emotions can't outweigh stability. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Stability often comes at the cost of relationships. The longer this drags on, the harder it becomes to walk things back. Pride sets in. Narratives harden. And once the public chooses sides, both artists are forced to perform for an audience, even if reconciliation is possible privately. So what happens next? Some believe a private meeting could still happen, with mediators stepping in to cool things down. Others think the damage is already done, and Blac Youngsta may be preparing for life outside of CMG, whether officially announced or not. What's certain is this: the days of pretending everything is fine are over. This situation has exposed cracks that can't be unseen. Fans are paying attention. The industry is paying attention. And Memphis, more than anyone, is paying attention. Because when loyalty is questioned in Memphis, it's never just talk. We're diving into what this fallout could mean long-term, potential exits, hidden power moves, and why this moment might mark the beginning of a new era for both Yo Gotti and Blac Youngsta. Stay tuned, because the final chapter could change everything. At this stage, there's no pretending anymore. Whatever once existed between Yo Gotti and Blac Youngsta has permanently changed, whether it ends in reconciliation or separation. The tension has already rewritten the relationship, and in hip-hop, perception often becomes reality. The biggest mistake people make is thinking moments like this explode suddenly. They don't. They leak. Slowly. Quietly. Through missed opportunities, unreturned calls, and subtle shifts in energy. By the time the public hears about it, the real ending has already been written behind the scenes. That's exactly where this situation is now. Industry insiders say Yo Gotti has already adjusted internally. CMG is moving forward with a clear focus on expansion, brand protection, and new talent. From a business standpoint, this makes sense. Gotti has always played the long game, thinking years ahead, not reacting to emotional moments. But business logic doesn't erase emotional damage. For Blac Youngsta, this moment represents more than just a disagreement. It feels like a reckoning. After years of riding hard, being visible, and standing on the front lines, he now has to face the possibility that loyalty doesn't always guarantee longevity. That realization hits hard, especially when it happens publicly. Sources close to Youngsta suggest he's at a crossroads. One path leads to silence, reflection, and rebuilding quietly. The other leads to doubling down, telling more of his story, reclaiming his narrative, and stepping fully outside the CMG umbrella. Both paths come with consequences. If he stays quiet, people may assume he lost. If he speaks more, he risks burning bridges permanently. And in an industry where relationships matter just as much as talent, that's a dangerous gamble. Meanwhile, Yo Gotti's position remains firm. He doesn't need to explain himself. His silence since the initial response reinforces his authority. In hip-hop leadership, silence isn't avoidance, it's dominance. It tells everyone watching that the machine keeps moving, regardless of who steps out of line. But dominance has a cost. Fans are split. Some feel Yo Gotti is protecting what he built and doing what any boss would do. Others believe he's become too distant from the artists who helped him rise. That debate won't end anytime soon, and it adds a permanent layer to his legacy. This is where the situation becomes bigger than two men. Memphis hip-hop has always been built on loyalty, respect, and memory. When artists fall out, the city remembers. When camps divide, the ripple effects last for years. And younger artists watching this unfold are learning a powerful lesson in real time. Success changes the rules. Some insiders believe this fallout will inspire more artists to prioritize independence. Others think it reinforces the importance of structure and discipline. Either way, the impact will be felt far beyond CMG. What's especially telling is how quiet the industry has remained publicly. No major artists have stepped in to mediate openly. No big names are calling for peace. That silence suggests something important. People believe this situation is already decided. Not officially. Not on paper. But emotionally. Reconciliation is still possible, but it wouldn't look the same. The trust is fractured. The dynamic is altered. Even if they stand next to each other again, the bond wouldn't carry the same weight. And that's often the real loss. Blac Youngsta now has to redefine himself outside of the CMG narrative, whether that happens immediately or over time. His next moves will determine whether this moment becomes a setback or a rebirth. Yo Gotti, on the other hand, will continue expanding CMG, but this chapter will follow him. Every future artist will remember how this played out. Every loyalty conversation will circle back to this moment. Because in hip-hop, leadership isn't judged only by success, it's judged by how fallout is handled. So what's the final takeaway? This wasn't just beef. This wasn't just frustration. This was the collision of emotion versus structure, loyalty versus hierarchy, and legacy versus control. Both men are right in their own ways. Both men lost something in the process. And neither will walk away unchanged. What happens next won't be loud. It won't be dramatic. It will be quiet decisions, subtle moves, and strategic distance. And those moves will tell the real story long after the headlines fade. One thing is certain, this chapter is closed. But the consequences? They're just beginning. And Memphis will never forget how this played out. Yo, if you're still watching, you already know this Memphis drama is far from over, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. This story between Yo Gotti and Blac Youngsta is just heating up, and every move they make, every word they drop, will shape the streets, the fans, and the future of CMG. So here's the deal. Hit that like button if you're all about keeping up with real hip-hop drama, the kind that doesn't just happen online, but changes the game. Drop a comment below and let me know whose side you're on. Are you rolling with Yo Gotti, or do you feel Blac Youngsta's frustration is justified? I want to hear your takes, because the fans are the real voice of this story. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. We're tracking every twist and turn, every reaction, and every insider revelation. So if you want to stay ahead of the curve, you have to be part of this community. And here's a tip. Share this video with your friends who live for Memphis hip-hop drama. Trust me, when the next update drops, everyone's going to be talking about it, and you'll want them in the loop. Finally, get ready for part 2 of the fallout, where we break down who might leave CMG, who's plotting moves behind the scenes, and what this means for the Memphis streets. This story is bigger than just two artists. It's about loyalty, power, and the future of an entire label. Stay tuned, stay locked in, and make sure you don't miss a single update.